Hi everyone, it's Cindy from Cindy's Art. Today we're going to work on a simple ocean watercolor boat painting, and I used a larger size, about a 9 by 12 Arches cold pressed watercolor paper. And what was great, this picture was so simple to work with, and all I did was sketch the boat out, and then I put some masking fluid on. The masking fluid will protect that portion of the paper where water and paint will not get into it while I go ahead and paint the other areas of the picture. So I'm using Holbein paint and washi tape, and I've listed more materials for you in there. And as I start off, I'm going to use horizon blue, marine blue, ultramarine blue, and I bet you anything I'm going to add a peacock in here soon if I don't have it right away. But the paper is very wet, and one of the ways you could tell is that the watercolor just spreads pretty easily. And as I'm dropping this down, listen, this is going to look really blotchy at first, but as you glaze and add more color upon what we're doing, you're going to see how those colors sing at the end. They really shine through. And this is a great way to practice some of this dropping in color, letting it spread. And I'm moving into some sap green, hooker's green, and viridian. I really like these colors. They were very different for me to use in my waters. And my art room can be quite dry. So one of the things that I will do at times when I'm painting like this is swish my brush clean, add some more water around the paint, not in it. I do it around it. And why do I do that? Because if I took my brush that's loaded with water and put it on top of some of this paint, it'll create what we call cauliflowers. It's like blooms where you see the water and it pushes the paint away. It doesn't look good. Sometimes you can do that intentionally and it's a beautiful texture, but we're not doing that today. So after I laid down some of my colors, I went ahead and tapped in paint into I just splattered some paint on the background. Just use the same paints you had just used. So right now I am adding in some peacock, which is a very vibrant color. I love it from my oceans. And I'm using like a darker, like an indigo type of color to add in some shadows. So we're just going to continue to rotate, adding in color and building it up. And then we're going to go ahead and add some glazing on in a few minutes. So right now what I'm doing is using some of my horizon blue and a little bit of marine blue, and I'm putting that over top of the entire picture. And what I'm doing is trying to calm down some of these blotchy colors that I have in. Right now that is using a little bit of an indigo with the peacock, and I'm adding that in. You can see I'm just stroking it over top. And what that's going to do is help build up like the middle level, not the lights and not the darks. It's going to build up the middle level of the colors and the painting. And as we do that, it's going to start to calm the picture down. It's not going to look so blotchy, but it is going to be the most incredible ocean color, and it'll make you feel like you're looking down into the water where this boat is floating. So we're just going to continue adding color. I did that until I felt like my colors were blended well enough, and right there I'm just going to tell you I put some more of that green in, the viridian blue, or viridian green I put in there. And right now I'm softening this up. This paper is wet. I'm using that brush to soften up some of the hard edges. Again, I'm going to glaze another layer of paint. And for me, this is just because I really enjoy getting into a rich depth of colors and a variety of colors in my ocean. So I'm using some of my indigo, and ultramarine blue deep works well. I'm using some marine blue on the top, and I'm simply just layering that in there so I can continue to build up the middle color section, not the lights and not the darks, and that's going to provide some balance to the painting. At this point, I feel like I've gotten the right amount of glazing paint, putting these different colors on here. And I left some of the light tones towards the top, which would be like a reef. And where you see those yellows and those greens, that again would be like the colors for reefs. So I feel pretty good about this. I'm going to let that dry, which I would recommend a couple hours. You want this paper bone dry. And I'm using a rubber cement eraser in order to pull off all of the masking fluid. Once I feel like I've got it all, I will take my bare hand, clean, I don't have any oil on my hand, and I'll just feel along where the boat and where this white foam is, so I can see if I've picked up enough of that masking fluid, and if not, I'll go back over it. So right now, to paint the boat, I need it really soft, so I'm using a tiny bit of a yellow ochre, very, 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 very soft. I would even recommend putting a little bit of a Aurelion in there for that boat, but I just wanted to leave it super light, so you don't need to put much on it. And then I am putting in just the dark lines for where the waves are. When the waves are pushing out, you're going to have a dark area, you're going to have a light area. So I'm just going to go ahead and sketch those in. That is marine blue with ultramarine dark. You could use indigo in there as well. Indigo and marine, that would work as well. But just add in those dark tones. I would even recommend a tiny bit of neutral in there. That'll help punch up that dark wave. You've got to be able to have dark in there in order to see the light. So I'm going to rotate between the water around the boat and the boat. And as I move into the boat, I am just going to paint some of the fine detail that kind of describes the boat, but I don't need everything. I just want to suggest to the viewer that this is a boat, that it does have a top that you're looking at, and then I'm going to bring in the bright red colors that originally were a part of that. So I'm adding in very, very light yellow ochre, and you could also use raw sienna. You could try that. Very, very light. You don't need much paint at all to do that. That's how you get those lighter colors. I'm using a Mincho pen, probably a size 5.05. These pens are great for doing a little bit of outlining or detail, and sometimes I will trust that a little bit more than a fine brush. And then, like I said, I'm going to rotate around to the water, and I'm just going to continue to bring out more of those waves. And the reason why I'm painting a little bit more darker around those waves is because I need the boat to dry. Just being practical, I need the boat to dry, and so I need to leave it alone. Of course, I want something to do, so I want to play and add more color around these waves. It does look good, though. So, and that's a neutral in there. That would be an ultramarine blue deep along with some neutral. Neutral is a black, but don't ever put black like straight on. Blacks have purple, they have brown, they've got blues, they might have greens, they might have maroons, or a mixture of them. And sometimes when I'm painting, I'll have to show you how I mix some of my own blacks. And one of them is burnt umber plus, try it with ultramarine blue deep. Mix those two. Another mix for brown is ultramarine blue. Use brown sienna, raw sienna with marine blue. But a blue with a brown comes into a black or a gray tone. Really pretty. So I'll do a video on that one. But anyway, we've moved into the colors, and I'm using some vibrant reds in here. I really do like on my reds, I like a red, like a blue tone red, not an orange red. So I have a variety of reds in my palette, and you can see I'm holding my color wheel right now. I'm just trying to look and see between the red and the orange that's on there, and then the blue, which is opposite. How can I make that boat pop? So I'll have my color wheel, handy, and I'll take a look to see how can I make something really pop in colors. And using opposites is one of the ways you could do that. So I'm going to move on to adding a little bit more detail with my boat and with the water. This thing is just about done. I'm using white gouache to add in some of the white. That was a part of the foam. That was there when I masked it off. But I like to let a lighter blue come over top of what I blocked out for water. It makes it look more realistic. And then all I have to do is finish off with just a little white. I don't have to have a ton. But whenever you see white foam, there's different colors in that foam. So one of the ways that I ensure that I get it is mask, take it off. It's stark white at that point. Add some horizon blue or some other color, and then go back and I'll add in this white. But you can see in my picture how some of that masking, it was kept. It's there. And then I am going to also take my my white gouache. I'm going to scrape some of that color onto the paper. This is cold press. It's got a nice harsh edge to it, so it's not going to come out super smooth, and it creates a great texture. So I'm scraping. That's all I'm doing. It's taking a little bit of paint, scraping it off, and it's finished. So I hope you enjoyed our time together. I so appreciate all of you, and make sure that you subscribe to my channel, like this video if it blessed you, and we'll see you next time.